Listen, I know the way a lot of people in this chat lean. Milei haters on watch. We gotta talk about Argentina, bro. Milei haters on watch. He crushed this election. There was election on Sunday. He did quite well, way better than expected. Way better. We gotta we'll watch a little video about it. Again, let me give you the timeline here. I have mixed feelings on Milei, but I have honest feelings, and I feel like a lot of people swing one way or the other too hard. Here's the truth. Here's the timeline. Event 1, Argentina in absolute economic chaos. This is not talked about enough. People that have such strong opinions on Milei, one way or another, do not talk enough about how Argentina was in the true hyperinflation era, like true poverty, hyperinflation, horrendous economy, things getting measurably worse, like prices changing during the day. Like you get paid in the morning and you have to rush out and buy things because by the end of the day, the prices will be higher. That is the environment that led to Milei. So you get Chainsaw Man. I think they made an anime about it. That's event 2. And he comes in and says a lot of wild things, but one of the main things he says is he's gonna cut the massive government deficit. And I had a comment. Someone said some crazy shit in the comment on my last Milei video, and I responded with a long thing about my thoughts. Here's the thing. If you have poverty in your country and your government finds a way to build houses for them or give them food, that's one thing. That can be effective. That is a sacrifice. The government is taking from something else to give that. That's something. But if the government prints pesos to give you money to buy food or give you money to buy housing, all that's doing is increasing the price of housing and increasing the price of food. Do you understand? They're just printing money. They're not making any sacrifice and they're giving it to you. And all of Argentina was propped up on these absurd social programs they could not afford. You have to move real wealth around if you're trying to, you can't just print it. So he promised to cut those, which I believe in because I don't believe any country can sustainably run massive deficits without throwing the problem on a future generation. It doesn't work. It always ends up with somebody holding the bag and having a worse quality of life. They have a suffering generation because of your largesse. I can see the rationale behind that. And here's step 3. Some of these things, not all of these things, it's complicated. I could do a whole video on it, but some of these things did work. It worked to stabilize the currency. It lowered inflation from like 90+% down to 2%. There was rental supply increase in Buenos Aires. They had some real effects, some real positive effects, not all. Now him personally is where I had some real problems because he, 1, endorsed the crypto scam, then backtracked, but it was problematic. And then 2, this is much worse, more damagingly, his sister was caught on tape saying that she was like siphoning 3% of all the payments that they hadn't cut towards like poor people. Like they have like a government program that like helps aid for, and she was like siphoning it. Okay. I'm being too reductive. It's a little more nuanced than that, but that's how I took it. And that's, I think, a fair assessment. It was definitely like a 3% surcharge. It was corrupt. And so because of that, because of the sister corruption, there was a bit of a political scandal. Additionally, the shock value of cutting these programs, whether you economically agree with me that they don't work long-term, is going to be painful. You have to have growing jobs. You can't just like cut them off and then leave them with nothing. So the poverty rate did increase. It's complicated. I'm saying Argentina's a country economically. There's no easy way out. A lot of things are going to happen. Because of both these things, his party lost an election in Buenos Aires. And because of that, everyone thought, oh, he's doomed in the real elections, which were yesterday. The real elections were on Sunday. People thought he was doomed. And because they thought he was doomed, most investors from other countries thought, oh my God, Argentina's going to go back exactly to the way it was. They're going to print like crazy. The peso is going to be devalued. I'm getting out. So they started pulling all their money out of Argentina, thinking he was about to lose. That's when we got the crazy bailout from Besant, which I still think is a bad idea, even though it has worked out okay so far. And now step 3, shocker, he won. Okay, yesterday his party did really well. He needed like 35% of the parliament to be doing okay. He got like 42. I mean, they did really well. So in response, at least in the short term, it was very good. Their bonds and their currency, that means like the interest they have to pay to borrow money went down and the value of the peso surged after they won. Because people think, oh, he's gonna be able to keep the reforms. Just understand that it's more nuanced. Anyone saying like, oh my God, he's purely saved Argentina, he's great, clearly not true. People that say, oh my God, he's terrible and nothing he's done has worked, also not true, bro. It's just not. It's just nuanced. It's a country that is in a crisis and is making some good movements, some bad movements, and they're trying to figure it out, okay? Just understand. However, he did win this election. There's a TLDR about it that I wanted to watch with you guys.
On Sunday, Argentina went to the polls for its congressional midterms, with roughly half of the seats in the lower house and a third of the seats in the upper house up for grabs. In what was widely seen as a make-or-break election for Argentina's embattled president Javier Milei, his La Libertad Avanza party outperformed the polls, beating the left-wing Peronist bloc by 10 points and securing a fresh mandate for his radical platform.
I will also say before they go on, is the things I was reading, because I read Argentina news too. Similarly to what I was talking about here with Gen Z, a lot of people in Argentina are upset at some of the things he's done. Many of the people polled said they were so afraid of going back. They were so afraid of going back to how it was that they voted for him. Like, they're going to give him a chance because they are so afraid of returning to what it's still fresh in their mind of what it was. So you have to understand that, like, they can be disillusioned with the way some of the stuff has been going, but I just think any analysis of Argentina that doesn't recognize where this election started is too biased. It's too biased, because for the average citizen, hyperinflation is unlivable. It's unlivable. You can't meaningfully build a life. It's a quicksand. It's building a life on quicksand.
In short, the success of Milei's economic project has always relied on him remaining popular enough to convince investors and the markets that his reforms are actually going to stick. After all, even if they like Milei's policies, foreign investors aren't going to invest in Argentina and aid its economic recovery.
Yeah, I should be clear. Like, they are buying Argentinian bonds, IOUs, for like 20 years. They're doing like 20-year IOUs, or if they're investing in pesos, that's money they have to hold for a while so they can use it to spend on something. They have to believe not only that there's going to be real change, but that the change is going to stick for a long time. Even if they like what he's doing, they have to be skittish.
His party were then punished at the Buenos Aires provincial elections in early September, where they lost to the left-wing Peronists by 13 points. Worried that Milei's reforms would soon be stymied by the Peronists, foreign investors and anxious Argentinians responded by selling Argentinian assets, especially Argentina's currency, the peso. This was bad news for Milei, not least because a sharp devaluation in the peso would stoke inflation, increasing the cost of imports, undoing perhaps his most notable economic achievement, namely the stabilization of Argentina's monthly inflation rate. Now, Milei tried to stem the peso's decline by essentially hiking interest rates, but this put the brakes on Argentina's already stagnant economy and was ultimately insufficient. When the peso continued to decline, Milei then had to directly intervene and spend dollars buying up pesos. But this was clearly unsustainable, given Argentina's meager foreign exchange reserves. At this point,
just to explain what happens there, like, if you're a country whose currency is getting weaker, you can shock the market and stabilize it by buying a ton of your own currency with dollars or with another currency, with euros, The problem is you need a ton of dollars. China has this. Japan has this. Some countries have tons of foreign reserves, and they can use that to try and stabilize or defend their currency's value. Argentina doesn't have shit, bro. They're just broke as a joke, which is why they needed the bailout from America, the $20 billion swap line, to do this to begin with.
When the US announced that they were essentially bailing him out by providing a $20 billion swap line, which allows Argentina to convert pesos to dollars at a constant exchange rate. When this didn't stop the sell-off, the Trump administration took things a step further and literally spent hundreds of millions of dollars buying up pesos on currency markets. Now, both Milei and Trump would have been hoping that this support would get him out of this vicious cycle by providing some economic relief ahead of the midterms. But things didn't go perfectly to plan here. Not only did the peso continue to fall, reaching a new low of about 1,500 to the dollar last week, but the fact...
By the way, after this election, now that he got a bit of a popular surge, he has a little more political power, he should just let the peso devalue to its actual value. Just get it over with. The idea that you're going to constantly defend it at an incorrect price is absurd. Just get it over with, bro. Do it now before it's like you have time till the next election.
And to top it all off, because of this ongoing interplay between Milei's political prospects and his economic project, it's also been great news for the peso. While the Argentinian exchanges weren't open at the time of writing, on the crypto-based currency exchanges, where the Argentine peso trades 24 hours, the peso has strengthened about 10% against the dollar.
I hate how we have to check crypto exchanges and Polymarket and Kalshi to get real-time updates on shit nowadays. Because they all trade 24/7 and are full of...
This means that Milei should be able to just let the peso float. Inflation won't surge, and he could probably start building back his foreign exchange reserves.
Yeah, do that.
All in all, well, the best strategy was probably just to avoid the corruption scandals that got him in.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, right? It is worth mentioning. This was a really low turnout election. As in, like I said, a lot of people are just drifting into nihilism, bro. They don't like any option. They're not showing up. They're not voting. It's a big part of it. This disillusionment, especially young people. Paratrioc. Can we get a paratrioc emote? Although, what was the U.S. turnout? Voting turnout, 66%, I think. So that's about what they got. So that's funny. Argentina's low turnout is 1% higher than our national turnout in our high turnout election. That's crazy, bro. Everyone's spamming 6-7. It's hard to defend democracy when you guys don't vote and you spam 6-7. I'm trying to advocate for young voters here. Okay? Not only do you not vote, you don't turn out, you go 6-7 Omega Lol. I was playing, but this might kill your love of 6-7, by the way. I was playing poker with Tafikins, who's like a 38-year-old man, and he's got a kid, okay? He's a dad, and every time he got his two cards were 6-7, he would go 6-7, 6-7, and then he would bet 67 chips. He did that all night. Nah, that's awesome. Like that? Wait, he's hip with the kids? Actually so funny. Base, that's so cool. That guy's a comedy genius.